everyone. It's Ashby, Sarah, and
Isabella.
Izzy. Hello.
Hey.
So, I guess with Valentine's Day coming up, we figured the obvious thing to talk about would be love, a little bit of love. But we talked about our marriage a little bit and shared some thoughts on it, and we wanted to share them with you. We've only been married about 16 months now, but don't stop watching yet because we do just want to talk a little bit about what we've learned and why that's important. Um, I think something that's kind of startling for me is that I've read that marriages um, with special needs children involved, that 70 to 80%, I don't know, it's extremely high. A really high percentage of them end in divorce. And, that's really shocking to hear because, it's just sad. Like, marriage is a wonderful thing, it's a beautiful thing. And it's just a shame to hear, that there's been so much loss that's been experienced through families similar to ours. But we do just want to share a little bit about some of the things that we've learned so far. So, so we just came up with three things each that we've either learned, experienced, or um, you know, just just stuff that's happened over the year. I was gonna say over the years, not yet, getting there. But yeah, tell them tell them your three things, your
Oh,
thoughts.
well, one of my things was it takes a while to get used to a person. Uh, Starting to live with Sarah and the girls is, I thought I had it worked out in my head of how things were gonna go, but you know, things are different and things happen, and you just kind of you learn what works and how to make things work right. So it just, you learn a lot about a person when you start living with them. And then I think you had asked me how God had helped in our marriage, and I think I was just saying that just the concepts and the ideas that He gives us about understanding forgiveness and grace and mercy. Uh, a lot of the stuff that was expected is not the way things go. So you got to be able to kind of to move on from certain things and not dwell on them. Find out what's really important and try to work on those things, and then just kind of let the other things, go. And the other thing was we were we were talking earlier today about building up treasures in heaven, and I think it really applies to our relationship in the marriage, because this is something it's gonna last a while. It's gonna take a while. So I think each and every day you have to focus on doing things that are gonna pay off in the future. It's almost like a small investments every day that lead up to something big in the end.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of married couples that they almost don't want to be around people, or around the other person. So
I want to be around you.
yeah, you say that now.
I do. I do. Some of the thoughts that I had. This was actually this was actually a thought that I found when I was researching about marriage before we had ever gotten married, and it said a good marriage requires two really good forgivers or something along those lines, and that is so true because we might we might think about problems as being like these big explosive things, but little things get on our nerves. They just, if we just let those things pester us and just kind of grow, you plant that seed and it grows, we just like get in a mood, and then stuff builds up, and then we get bitter, then we get angry, and then all of a sudden we're like lashing out at our partner. And it's like no, it's so important to just forgive on the spot, no matter how small or big it is, because I know I do some things that are annoying to Ashby. And sometimes, he has a tendency to do the same thing, but it's not for the purpose of getting on my nerves. It's just, we just have some things that annoy one or the other, and it's just really good to forgive and just say, what, it's okay, and to always go back and at least address it. I felt like I said I'm sorry too many times this past week, and I felt bad about coming back and just saying it over and over and over, but I think it's best to at least address it, and to keep addressing it, um, you know, just to be resilient with it, really, because I think those things are really important, just to show you care, um, about your partner's heart and their feelings and all. So, another thing I said, can you, yeah. Oh, yeah. Situations get uncomfortable. Man, in the beginning, in the beginning, no, in the beginning of our marriage, I kind of just wanted to make things as smooth as possible. I knew there was a lot coming in to Ashby's house after we got married, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna take a lot of, um, I'm just gonna shoulder a lot of this because, I don't want to stress him out. I feel like we're already, this is like a heavy load for him. Um, and I wanted to do all that, and things really did get uncomfortable, but it gets to the point you just got to be straight up, you got to be honest, and you kind of have to share. You have to share some of those burdens, and to not keep the burden either. We always have to encourage each other, like lift each other up, tell each other when we're doing a good job, and um, really be honest and say if we're not doing such a good job. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, there's some uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable conversations, but you kind of got to be fearless and have them and know the right time to have them. You know what I mean? So, and my last thing was that God really does have to be the head, not just of a relationship like a marriage, but God has to come first in your own life. And, I really had great intentions of pursuing God before our marriage. And I looked up all this stuff. I looked up all these testimonies and, looked up, stuff about good marriages and, why those worked. And I was really looking into it. And of course, God was the factor. And I said that I loved God more than Ashby. I think I told him that. You might not remember, but I love God more than you, and all this other stuff. But then I realized during this that I really didn't. I wasn't putting God before Ashby. I had a lot of insecurity, and I've been working through this insecurity, but I've had that insecurity because I was putting all, I don't want to say all of my worth, but I was like depending. I was depending on his compliments constantly and depending on the way he thought of me constantly, and like that's where my security lied. It was in him. And okay, we'll get you some water. Um what was I saying? Oh, but anyway, but I've grown so much closer to God in this season, this first year of marriage, and it's just continually changing my perspective about myself and why God has to be that one. Because if we put all of our dependence on our spouse, for all of our needs, nobody's going to be happy with that. And there's going to be a lot of things that aren't expressed. There's going to be things that are just building up, building up, building up until there's like an explosion. Um, so yeah, I'm falling more in love with Jesus, and that's really making all the difference. And it's putting less pressure on my husband. So I'm thankful for that. I kind of wanted to end with a story. I don't know. Something happened. It was really small, and it really made me mad one day. And I had these bad thoughts about Ashby in my head. I was like, why? Why would he do that? And I was just condemning him in my head. And it was just like, what? Like, why would he do that? He know that that makes me mad. He knows that, he wasn't even thinking about me. He was disrespecting me. And I'm thinking all this in my head. And then there's this other voice that comes in my head. It's like, well, what has he done? And I knew it was the Holy Spirit, and I didn't want to yield to it, but I was just like, you know what? I feel terrible as it is because I'm mad and I'm frustrated. So I actively thought of things in the moment, of things that he had done, and he has done so much. He does so much every day. He works and he comes, he helps around the house, and he helps me care for the girls, and he encourages me, he supports me. And, I was thinking about all these things, and then I was like, but he still disrespected me. And it was the Holy Spirit again. He said, well, how does he respect you? And I was thinking about all these things, and by the end of it, I was just like, wow, I'm really blessed to have the husband that I have. And the Holy Spirit, God is our fan. He is for us and he's not against us. He wants us to have healthy marriages. He wants us to thrive. And I don't know, that was just a really special moment for me this past year of marriage. But that being said, you've got to allow God to be first, and look for the Holy Spirit to guide you in your marriage. Do you have any other thoughts?
It's just that the relationships we have, with people or with God, I mean, they're meant to be a certain way for a reason. So a lot of it deals with relationship and intimacy and getting close with people. And if you can find a way to get close with God and Jesus, you can find a way to make all sorts of relationships work. We even love Bloss, and he's
Blossy man.
I don't know.
I think this is the first time he's been on film.
Bloss is a crazy little doggy, but we still love him because he loves us back. And I still love Sarah because she still loves me back.
I love you, Ashby. We're going to love each other for decades to come, right, babe?
Is this where we start making out or something?
No, it's okay. We'll spare you. Okay, guys. I don't know. I hope this has been encouraging. And I don't know, guys. If you're married, if you're struggling, just keep going after God. Just go for it. The enemy wants us to dwell on things that are going to tear us apart. And God is the one that said that once we're married, we are one flesh, and we're together, and we're to stay together. What God puts together, let no one pull it apart. So we should work towards being together and think about things that bring us together. So be blessed, and we love you guys.
What's that saying? You get out what you put in.
You get out what you put in?
Yeah, what says that?
I don't know, man.
You get out what you put in.
You get out. Y'all know what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I said it clearly. I don't know what you said.
All right. Bye, guys.